We're all unmuted.
You're all good.
That's my packet.
No, I don't have a packet for you for tonight.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Municipal Council Work Session Meeting, September 12th, 2022, 6 p.m. Can we all please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Brescher. Councilmember Coyle.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Patel.
Here.
Councilmember Patil.
Here.
Councilmember Pointer.
Present.
Councilmember Ship Freeman.
Adequate notice?
Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act of 1975 has been provided by an annual notice sent to the Home News, Tribune, Star Ledger, Sentinel, and Disney Talk on November 25th, 2021, and posted in Main Lobby Municipal Complex on the same date.
We're going to open this up to the public for all petition remarks. I have Maria, you're first.
Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. On Thursday, the Edison Environmental will have a meeting at 7 p.m. If anyone would be interested to come, we'd be happy to have you. On Friday, we're going to have a beautiful Edison meeting at 8 p.m. The location to be determined. Friday, September 23rd, we'll do another cleanup at the Silver Lake from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. If anyone, and thank you, John Pointer, for coming to the last one, but we'd love if anybody can come and help. There's a tremendous amount of garbage there that needs to be picked up. The Fall Family Spectacular on September 24th. Love to see you from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Amboy Avenue. School is open, so please drive carefully. And just a question on any update for our crossing guard situation and before and after care. Thank you.
Do we have any update on the crossing guards? Sonia?
What specifically is the question?
I think there was a time where they were going to look to have new hires, but it was told to me, but it was a while back, we're just going to continue having the police department do the crossing guard stops. Has anything changed?
Nothing's changed at the moment, other than we have recently hired crossing guards. We've also been in communication with regard to a plan moving forward, but that's something that we have to discuss in terms of attorney-client privilege, because there's a contractual conversation we need to have.
But at this time, every spot is filled with an officer.
Yes, we have
Okay.
all of the posts. There are about 52 posts that are filled. We actually just recently hired 3 more crossing guards, but every post is covered. There are about 12 that our officers cover.
There's every area is covered for public safety standard standpoint, and as we add on, we'll, rotate in and out who's going to be taking that post. Okay. Next, we have one more person here. Just going to go from the there's no one else on the list, so just anyone from the public? Sure, Christo. I'm not going to recognize you writing anonymous on there.
Okay.
Can you state your name and your address, please?
Krista, I don't have to state my address.
Just for the record, Crystal, you're running for a public office. Your address is a public record for the Board of Education. Continue.
Feel you're intimidated. Your address is.
You should give your address. Everybody else does. You should do that.
All
But
right,
continue.
Can you give me
You
your
have the
address
floor.
right now?
You have the floor.
Can-
Your
can-
time is running.
Would you like to give me your address right now, Councilman Coyle?
Everybody knows my address. It's public information.
All right, what is it?
4055 Woodbridge Avenue, Edison, New Jersey.
All right. I don't have to provide that. I'm not,
Fine.
I don't have to provide you my address every time I
Your
come
time
up.
is running, you have the floor.
Okay. The law says when it's my time to speak, to allow me to speak. When it's the public's time to speak, allow us to speak. Is it now the public's time? All right. I'm against ordinance I, for your pay increase. How much is that a pay increase to you, Joe? Around 20,000? How much? Well, Rich deserves it on everyone else. I'd give it to Rich if it was up to me, but. What? For the, how much is your pay increase gonna be?
When you finish your questions,
Can
I'll
I
answer them all at
finish
the
my
end.
question? Okay, the appointment to the Human Relations Committee. Do you know who's being appointed to the Human Relations Committee? Do you have the names? Well, Joe, if, he's a council president, I'd like to know if he knows what's going on in his own agenda. I'd like to know why the one person whose name I can't pronounce on there, why they're filling the unexpired term of the rabbi. Why not give this person a whole new term? Why do we have to, as far as I'm concerned, we gave the rabbi a term, so he's under contract with us to be on that commission. Why are we filling someone else's seat with that seat? We're not actually putting any new people on the Human Relations Committee. You're just reappointing Brian, and instead of appointing a new person, you're doing it at the expense of taking the rabbi off the Human Relations Council. Are you aware about that, Councilman Coyle, Council President Coyle?
I'll answer all your questions when you're finished.
Okay, I'd like to know why there's no representative for the Jewish community on the Human Relations Council, why there's no representative for Roman Catholics, for the Muslim community, for any other community for that matter. There's no representation. Brian Rivera, we're re-putting him on there. He didn't show up for any of the meetings last year. He was a no-show for the meetings last year. We're going to reappoint him. Why is that? Why are we appointing these people? I know a lot of residents applied, but they're not getting put on the commission. I know the mayor gets a few spots to put people on there. Can the council president put people on there as well? I believe so. There's spots open for the town council to put people on there. Joyce, you're shaking your head no, but when you go online and you read the ordinance in itself, there is a few spots for the mayor picks, and the rest are town council picks. Why is the town council not putting anyone on the Human Relations Committee? There's very limited picks that the mayor can do, and that's in the own, that you guys put in. It's your own ordinance. Why there's no Civil Rights Committee? Why there's no Civil Rights Commission? When was the last time there has been? The Human Relations Committee has been around for over a year. How many meetings has there been? When's the next, Joyce? I have a question through the council president to Joyce. When's the next Human Relations Committee? Because I'd like to go there. It's a public meeting where the public's not allowed to come. We don't know when it is. When you did have it, it was on Zoom. None of the public knew how to enter it. There was no Zoom link put out to the public. How can you have these meetings? I mean, as I'm concerned, the rabbi was more bullied because you guys were not he only put in that he didn't want to be on the commission no more because you guys didn't have any meetings. You guys were just not having meetings. And then when you did have a meeting is when you believed he was finally off the committee. I believe there happens to be a little anti-Semitism there, you know? Our mayor recently, in the past, made some statements about Lakewood, not to go to the Lakewood community. You might get COVID, and all of a sudden he's a champion for the Jewish community after making these anti-Semitic remarks. Yes, some of us are laughing up there, but it's the truth. How much time do I have left? A minute. Joe, were you writing down the questions that I was asking you?
Yes,
Or-
I'm down.
Gonna
Yeah.
move on to next.
No, I'm done now. In fact, while you're up there, we'll just answer some of them. Council salary is from 12 to 17.5.
I'm gonna finish it off. I'd like, when I sit down, Councilman Brescher, I'd like through the council president to Councilman Brescia for you to answer. Why is the town council not putting anyone on the Human Relations Committee? The mayor's picks can only be for 1-year picks. That's why Brian Rivera's, you have to reappoint him right now. What about all the other picks? The town
Christo, this
council's
is the
not gonna-
mayor, these are the mayor's
For
committee.
his picks, yeah, why
It's-
aren't
It's his appointments.
Council
It's-
president, are you not allowed to appoint people on the Human Relations Committee?
It's not our committee.
No, there's a member of council who serves as a liaison. That's who the council appoints. Everybody else is appointed by the mayor. So I don't know what ordinance you're reading, but that's what it is. And the terms are, by the way, 3 years. They're not 1 year. They're not 2 years. That's only the initial terms.
I'm reading
Now they're all 3 years.
offline. You can go online and.
Hey,
and
I'm
read.
reading it online, by the
Please.
way. You know, I have an internet access here too. So the answer is I'm
say-
reading it right in front of me.
All right, some say the mayor's picks and others say you can be appointed by the town council.
Time's up, Christo.
Joyce
Any other answer to your question?
All right,
Christo, the other answer to your question, Christo, is that it's Devesh. Okay, who is it? Okay. Okay. The person going on the committee is Devesh Devtani. And that the Human Relations Board, when they have a meeting, they'll notify the public of the meeting, and so you'll have plenty of time. Go ahead. Sure, you want to refer to that question? Go ahead.
all right. The Human Relations, they're having a meeting tomorrow. The Human Relations will have training sessions probably at their next couple of meetings, because if you read it, that was revived in 2020. I have a training session for the people who will be on the Human Relations. So therefore, when we have a Human Relations Committee, when we have different parades and we have different things going on, I need someone to be able to say what is correct and what is not, because we run into problems with people differentiating on different things, okay? But with our Human Relations, I want them trained from people from the county and the state, so they can know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. But the reason why they didn't have meetings before, because you have to wait to get yourself a quorum before you can just meet, and before we can get people from the state and from the county to come in, you need enough people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Nick Fagan?
Thank you, Council President. Nick Fagan, 42 Edgewood Road. I had a couple
I
questions.
recognize you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Had a couple questions, but first, before you get to those, in full support of and applaud whoever is responsible for putting together 2152, Ordinance 2153, 2154. Those are great improvements. So thank you for bringing those up, whoever created them. And as I understand, it looks like that we're moving planning and zoning administrative responsibility or secretarial responsibilities to the clerk's office. Is that correct, or do I not fully understand that?
No, the answer is I don't think that you do understand.
Oh, okay.
The administrative responsibilities, the technical administrative responsibilities for the zoning board and the planning board stay with the zoning board and the planning board.
Okay. One of them eliminated the planning board secretary and put the clerk in.
So, no, there's a reference in the land use law to an administrative person who is the administrative person for the entire township, and that's for those spots in the municipal land use law that require you to notify the township. But the administrative responsibility for the zoning board and the planning board stays with the zoning and planning board secretaries or whoever the administrative officer is of the planning and zoning board. Because the administrative officer, as you know, for the planning and zoning board is the one who takes every application and all of that. That's not being shifted to the clerk's office. But there are times when you have to file documents with the administrative officer for the city, and that's the city clerk.
That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for the clarity. My other question is the topic I always come for, which is Charlie Brown's. The deadline to act on the appeal that is before you is November 1st. There are 3 council meetings between now and November 1st. One of them, you can't do anything because you haven't posted a 10-day notice, which is next Wednesdays. So that leaves 2 council meetings left. And you need to give Mr. Ranone, our town attorney, time to write a resolution if you do act. So that means there's one meeting, regular meeting anyway, that you can act on the appeal. So I would like to hear from you as council members and hear your support of us hearing that matter in this board, or don't comment at all and we won't hear it, or if you're planning on having a special meeting to do that instead of a regular council meeting session.
When you're finished with all your questions, I'll answer that. It's a great question, and we have an answer for you, but when you're finished, we'll answer everything at the end.
Yeah, I'm good.
You finished? Madam Clerk, do you want to discuss the date we picked?
We're discussing to put it on the meeting of October. Sorry. October 12th.
October 12th, you
Yes,
are...
because
you-
that's a combined meeting, and we will have the zoning appeal done
Count.
at that time, the hearing.
Gotcha. And could I get an affirmation from the rest of the board that that is your plan together, or is that, Mr. Council President, is that you own that decision as the agenda, or
I own that decision.
you
as
own that agenda,
but-
and
but
your
we-
commitment to the
I
public right
I have
now?
discussed it with
Yeah.
some council members and our attorney to give enough time for them to read the packet.
Yes.
I would prefer to put it on for the 28th, but it's not giving our council members enough time to read and go through the videos. So the 12th, I think, is a good timing, and it's a public meeting, so
Yeah.
no one, everybody will be here that day.
And that gives Mr. Renone time to write any follow-up agendas or, what you call them, resolutions for because he has to write something, right? If you do decide to act, and then you have to adopt whatever he wrote, right? So he needs time.
Well, the process is that there's a hearing first. I don't write it before the hearing, so.
Correct, yeah, and you need time to write that from whatever the hearing results are.
Just remember, this is not the zoning board. So you're thinking about the process that's before the zoning board. We're not the zoning board, this is an appeal, so it's different.
Okay,
So
Well-
I just
Okay,
need to
yeah.
understand that it's a different process. The requirements for resolutions before, you're just describing the process that happens before the zoning and planning board, which is they vote, and then a month later, they memorialize. That's not necessarily what happens here.
so okay, I appreciate that. I wasn't clear on that. So you can memorialize it right at that meeting, what your agreement is, or
Correct.
whether you reverse, remand, or
Correct.
make another deal with the
Correct.
applicant. Right at that meeting, and then you won't need to
Well,
write anything.
I don't know what deals with the applicant mean. That doesn't happen at a public meeting. We're like the appellate court, right? We're reviewing the record below. There's no new testimony. There's that's not what happens during the course of this. This is just an appeal.
Mr. Renone, there is an oral argument that is supplied by the appellant, correct? And then
The answer is they have a right, at the hearing, they have a right to be heard,
Yeah,
correct?
and so they will be the only one heard,
And the applicant?
and the applicant will be heard, and then the record, which you
Correct.
have a big, thick
Correct.
book of.
Correct, and
record.
you can't, and the arguments are based upon the record. They can't, they can't
Correct.
say, and I went and talked to an engineer, and they told me this and told me that. You can't add new testimony in. So it's like, once again, we're an appellate court. You're arguing based upon the record below.
So thank you, Ms. Clerk. Again, October 12th, you said? It's a regular action combined meeting, and it's a Wednesday meeting, right?
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Christo,
Thank you for recognizing me.
you have the floor. Just, this is your rebuttal time. If you please stay to a rebuttal.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for bringing that up about the rebuttal time. I'll speak about that too. You said the meeting's tomorrow, the Human Relations meeting's tomorrow, so can I get that information?
Your questions have to come through me.
It's coming through you.
Yeah.
Can the public then get that information so I can attend that meeting tomorrow, since it's a public meeting, Human Relations meeting tomorrow? You said it was tomorrow?
When you're finished, we'll answer all your questions.
Okay, I'd like all that information, because I doubt there's a meeting that's open to the public tomorrow. And if there is, you can prove me wrong. I'm against the appointment of Brian Rivera ever since him and his whole ticket endorsed by Sam Joshi took over the Board of Education. They don't know, they violate every single time I go to that meeting. They don't allow me to have my rebuttal time. And in fact, lawyer, the Schneider says, the Board of Ed President Schneider says you have to give up your original time in order to get rebuttal time later. That's not how it works. And therefore, that's the excuse. If anyone wants to answer that, that's their excuse for not allowing members of the public for getting rebuttal time later. Every single time, Brian Rivera, his whole ticket, who has the most ethical complaints, his ticket, maybe not him, but his ticket that he ran with, I wrote some of those ethical complaints down. I can't speak about it because I'm in litigation right now at the moment, but I mean, to reappoint him on the Human Relations Committee, he didn't go to any of the meetings last year. Is there going to be a meeting tomorrow? And if so, where is this meeting? Where can I get the information that I can attend this meeting? Maybe the rabbi would like to attend that meeting tomorrow. Would you like to provide us that information?
You finished with your questions?
How much time do I have left? And I'm asking the lawyer at the town council, do I have to give up once you give up your original time, you're forfeiting all your original time?
Are you talking about what happens at a Board of Education meeting?
Yes.
That's, we don't, this
It's
isn't
still
the Board of
civil rights.
Education.
It's still a civil rights complaint that's I'm bringing to the town council to address. You're the lawyer for the town. Is it not a civil rights complaint?
The answer is it's certainly not a civil rights issue, and in any event, it's a procedural issue before the Board of Education, and I suggest you address it to their attorney.
Okay, I won't. I'll actually file an ethics complaint on that as well. No problem. Because the last ethics complaint I do have, I'm not going to mention who it's on, but the Deputy Attorney General will actually be looking into it. It's very serious matters, very criminal matters. How much time do I have left?
10 seconds.
God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. God bless Donald Trump. Trump 2024.
No, they have said they would have the meeting, but they're looking for a Zoom meeting tomorrow. So I don't have the number or anything for the Zoom for you for tomorrow. If I had it, I'd definitely give it to you so you could disrupt the meeting, I would.
Listen, Christo, your time is up. You can discuss this after the meeting with Joyce, and we'll try to get this set up so you can have the Zoom information you need. Okay, anybody else from the public?
Council
Those who,
President,
if anybody's here right now, this part of the meeting is your time to come up and speak on any matters that you have an interest in. After this time is up, there'll be no other time during this meeting, but Wednesday's council meeting, you can speak as well. Okay, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
motion to close the public portion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries to close the public portion. Moving forward, council members, review of the minutes. Any comments from council members? August 22nd and 24th. Hearing none, moving to 6, administrative agenda from Mayor Sam Joshi. Appointments to Human Relations Commission. Any comments from council members? Hearing none, moving forward to report small council committees. From my left, Councilmember Pointer.
Thank you, Council President. As Maria mentioned, the Environmental Commission is meeting on Thursday at 7 o'clock. The Historic Preservation Commission will be meeting next Wednesday, the 21st, at 7:30 at the conference room on the 3rd floor. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any, Councilmember A.J. Patil?
None at this time.
Councilmember Nish Patel?
None at this time.
Council Vice President?
Tomorrow is the Board of Ed meeting, and next week, we will have a police meeting, a public safety meeting. We'll have a public safety meeting next week. Tomorrow is the Board of Ed. Most of the time, we didn't meet during the course of the summer, so we'll have many meetings this month lined up. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Harris.
None, sir.
Councilmember Rich Brescia.
We haven't met, but for the Amazon, I am going to send out an email. We've received documentation. We don't have a contact. Nobody from Amazon will contact us, so we can't have a discussion with them. And we don't have the, I asked Sonia, I guess, we're looking for the noise readings that were taken originally. I'd like to get them for the meeting. They were taken, I'd say, a year ago, and then supposedly we retook the readings.
I did reach out and did some digging with our health officer, and then I reached out to Bill Northgrave, who had worked on that, so I haven't heard back yet, but I did follow up to see exactly if there were any reports. Jay Elliott doesn't recall, our health officer, that there were actual reports done, so, but once I get an answer from Mr. Northgrave, I will let you know.
Okay. Yeah, because we passed resolutions that authorized payment. I never seen if we paid them or not. And I do know for a fact they did go out there the first time. But when they went out, what they did was they gave Amazon notification, like we're going to come out there on Monday at 7, and then mysteriously Monday at 7 it was quiet. So yeah, if I can get whatever reports we can get, but we're going to call for a meeting next week, and just so we can discuss what we have so far and what we can do moving forward.
There was a second part to your question also with regard to the planting, and we're actually, our planning person is actually developing a plan for that with planting of trees there. He had mentioned about that.
Yes, and did the planting person speak to like a sound consultant?
Not with regard to this proposal. What you're talking about with the sound is separate than from the planting.
Well, no, I understand, but like if you hire a landscaper and he plants trees, he knows nothing about sound. So they could be spending money that basically gives us nothing. And that's why I'm asking, like a sound consultant should have input on it. And Amazon has a sound consultant.
I'll follow up to make sure that if there was a report, I'm not aware of any at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving forward, we called every council member. Did I miss anybody?
What?
Okay. Moving forward to the points of light.
Yes,
Any
Council
council member-
President?
Yes, Councilmember Harris.
Yes. There are times that I wish I could be in two places at once, and one of these times, or two of these times actually, have been for the swearings-in of the new firefighters and the new police officers. On vacation for the first one and had to work on the second one. But I'm so proud of all of these new officers, and especially gratified that we now have, for the first time at Edison, 2 female firefighters. I'm hoping that this glass ceiling is not just broken, but that it's really going to, it's really going to increase. And it's, I would say, it's about damn time. So congratulations to the new firefighters, congratulations to the new police officers. We're happy to have you. Also want to wish 2 days after the fact our whippersnapper council member John Pointer a happy birthday. The other thing to point out is that the Edison Art Society is having an opening at the Unity Bank on Oak Tree Road in Edison on Wednesday, the 14th, from 5 to 7. And there's a big, I don't know if it's a mural or it's just a big canvas painting. It's really very pretty from what I see of it. And the invitation says, come and enjoy additional artwork at the bank and music, food and music. And it's all free. And so I'm going to try and make the rounds and make a quick stop over there before the council meeting on Wednesday. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. Any other points of light from any council members?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember.
I too want to congratulate the 2 female firefighters, Stephanie Kirkpatrick and Cynthia Gewiters, for being the first in breaking the glass ceiling. And I also wanted to point out that there were some mentions earlier, meetings about pickleball courts, and it is coming to Edison. There's one coming on Central Ave, and I'm excited for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Patel. Any other council members for points of light? Hearing none, move to the points of light from the clerk's office here. Yesterday, we had a 9/11 ceremony. I was very happy in the attendance. I want to thank the mayor, Sam Joshi, and the administration, DPW, and Recreation for putting it together. I want to thank the chief and his command staff and the fire for being there. Truly an event well-attended, and thank everybody for that. Fall cleanups I have a list of dates here, and I'm just going to go right down the list here. For fall cleanups, Saturday, September 10th, Section 1 and 6. Saturday, September 17th, Section 2 and 7. Saturday, September 24th, Section 3 and 8. And Saturday, October 1st, Section 4 and 9. Saturday, October 8th, Section 5 and 8. Should I repeat that? On the website, too. Okay. And the recycling days. Would you have for a second?
No, it goes by your recycling.
Oh, it goes by your recycling days. I had nothing else there. I just also, and for the next meeting combined, September 20th, the combined meeting on the 28th. Also, I want to thank Troop 110, that took care of the outside. They did an incredible job repainting one of the parking spots there for our veterans, and truly a great job that was done last week. So thank you for doing that, Scouts.
Also,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
The Fall Family Spectacular. The Fall Family Spectacular is September 24th from 12 to 11 p.m. Anything else?
Council President, I would like to give the shout out that we have the Boy Scouts troop number 12 in the attendance. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. He picked a Monday to come here. He must know it's a shorter meeting. Someone gave him a hint. No credit for Mondays. Okay, moving forward. Any other points of light from council members? Hearing none, moving forward to the Business Administration, Section 9. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. J was revised. Any questions from council members from A through K?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember.
Yes, on
You have the floor.
E, F, and G.
Yes.
Ask them now?
Yes.
Okay. I am just wondering where where will the furniture and accessories be going? Where are they going to be distributed?
They're going to be distributed throughout various places in the township. What happens is we have to put together a cumulative order, so that's why the number is the way it is, but it's for various departments.
Okay. On F, the desk chairs, I think there were 115 desk chairs. Where are those going?
Again, in the same realm of various places.
Any chance that we can get any of them? Mine looks like someone's been eating it.
We can certainly go through Cheryl and you can
Okay.
make a request.
Okay.
Would that come out of Cheryl's budget, though? Well, thank you, Councilmember Harris. We've been waiting for a while for these chairs.
And lastly, G, can you just explain, I didn't have a chance, Sonia, to email you this or call you, the resolution awarding emergency professional services contract, can you just explain what that goes towards, what professional services?
This is for the IT we're referring to?
It's a letter G, so, IT, yes.
So we've been having quite a bit of issues with our backup server and email, and they had to come and troubleshoot to try to get up and running. Some of us were actually out of email for about a week or so. We have a long-term plan to go to the cloud through Office 365, but at this time, because it exceeded what the All Covered was already doing for us, we have to come back, and it was set as an emergency.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Council
Any other question,
President,
Councilman? Yes, Council Vice President, you have the floor.
C, Is that professional service being rewarded to Millennium, or are we gonna get somebody else to actually work on the grants also?
That is strictly for Millennium, and they've brought in millions of dollars for grants. So we're pretty happy with the service, and we needed to renew the contract, both on regular DOT grants, and then we have a separate resolution to memorialize for FEMA recovery monies, and that's in the millions as well, so including CARES Act. So they're very good at what they do, and we're putting this on for recommendation, and hopefully the council.
I know Millennium, but I'm hoping that we can get a person here in-house also, because there's a lot of grants and a lot of money that we're missing out on. You know, Millennium, make no mistake, ever since I was here since 2020, they've done an outstanding job. But there's nothing like a little bit of help in-house to see some of the things that we can get also. Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Yes, Councilmember Patel, you have the floor.
For 9G, just continuation, what's the timeline looking to go live for the Office 365?
We're actually working with the county as a shared service to go through them. So we're working on getting a list of all of our accounts and getting some quotes. So once we have that, it's a few $100,000. So we have to see if it's well within this budget. If not, we'll have to put it as a capital request for next year. But we are working on getting some figures.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilman Porter.
Thank you,
You
Council
have the
President. Thank you. Regards to item F, the amount on the agenda says 15,000, but the backup data was approximately like 53,000. Can I just get clarification if we will be going to the bid amount, or is this underneath that? Councilwoman Harris had mentioned 115 chairs, which is what's in the backup documents, but that was about a $53,000 bid versus.
I'll have to follow up to see if there's an updated quote to match the resolution. Could have been an error, but I know we did revise the list of chairs and reduced it, so that's why this may be reflective of that, but I will get clarification before Wednesday.
Appreciate it. Thank you. In regards to item H, is it possible tonight or tomorrow to just get the bid spec that was sent out? That's for the Diwali and holiday marketplace lighting. Just because the backup document, it had some details, but I would just like to get more info on that. Item H for the Diwali and holiday marketplace lighting.
Did you get the additional email today I sent out?
Yes, that's for the actual light, though. This is for seemingly the other events that are going on.
Oh, okay. I see.
This was the second bid, so you would like the specifications for that?
If possible.
Sure.
Thank you.
I see that with the Diwali.
The last item, in regards to Millennium strategies for the grants, I think that this is great that we are looking to retain their services. Part of the backup documents showed that since 2016, they have helped us receive $9 million plus in grants, 4.5 of which was just last year. So hopefully this continues on a good track, and hopefully we retain their services. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, any other questions from council members?
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Patel, you have the floor.
I have a question through Council President, I have a question on I and J. For I, the municipal council salaries, do we have any comp with the neighboring towns?
I did, and I looked at Lakewood, Toms River, and Woodbridge, who were very similar in size, and that's a lot of the comparison was back and forth, and of course, looking at our current active list to make sure that we're aligned in that sense. So there was research done to make sure that we're comparable to other towns similar in size.
Can I get those backup documents, like what research was done? Because we just got the range, we do not know what research was done. and how those numbers were derived from your research. It will be helpful if we can get those supporting documents by
I
mail.
can give you copies of the salary ordinances.
That would also work. One thing that I'm very disappointed, and I spoke during the mayor's budget presentation, this I and J talks about the top tier salaries, except the council, which is part-time, still a top tier salary, looking at the number of hours, the official hours. My disappointment is there are multiple employees, I would say the majority of the employees who are in that bracket of $20,000 to $40,000 a year. And I would have preferred to start from the bottom up, revising their salaries so we improve and increase the motivation for those employees rather than hitting the top 1% bracket. So again, this is something I would look from the mayor's office very soon to normalize those salaries.
In response to the salaries that you're mentioning, most of them are subject to collective bargaining agreements. So we have that forthcoming, our negotiations at the last quarter of the year, and that's certainly what we're looking at globally. So that is not going unnoticed.
Understood. But the J ordinance also has some of the line items that are part of the contracts. They are included. So I'm surprised that the other ones that are contract, even though they are the tail end of the salary levels in the township, they are not there. So again, I'm hopeful that in a month or so, those employees will also get.
Just for correction purposes, did you get the updated salary ordinance?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So with that amendment, it was reflective of the mayoral appointments. So if Mr. Reno could.
Yeah, if I can, and I apologize, Council, I was away last week, so when this kind of hit the agenda, I didn't catch it in real time. The Faulkner Mayor Council form provides that that any salary that's not required by law to be set by ordinance or set in a collective bargaining agreement is set by the mayor. So the process is this: council approves collective bargaining agreements. That's when you approve the salaries for all of the people who are covered by unions. This is the ordinance that lists all of the positions that are covered by, that are required by law to be set by ordinance, and all other positions are, the salaries are set by the mayor.
Understood.
So this is the entirety of the ones that are set by ordinance. And I will note this, and I included the municipal clerk here because she's, that position has always been in the salary ordinance, though I think technically you could probably set it by resolution, but it's always been done by ordinance, as far as I recall.
Understood, but there are other contractual heads there. If you look at the police and fire, even though those appointments are by mayor, those are also contractual salaries.
Has nothing to do, I think the administrator misspoke. It has nothing to do with the appointment power. There is a specific statute in the Faulkner Act. It's Section 43, small a of the Faulkner Act that says what I just said, which is any salary that's not set by a collective bargaining agreement or not otherwise required by law to be set by ordinance is set by the mayor. So it doesn't have anything to do, for instance, police and fire, you set that salary by their collective bargaining agreement, which
Correct.
you approve.
That's what I said,
Correct, and it doesn't have to be in this, it's not in this ordinance, in other words. You do that by resolution when you approve their contract.
But it's there. If you look at the salary ranges for police and fire.
No, it's just chief of police and chief of fire. Those are two that are required to be set by ordinance, so you're setting those by ordinance.
So they're not by the contractual.
No, they're not members of collective, no. The chiefs of the department are not members of the collective bargaining agreements. They're not of the collective bargaining units.
Okay, again, if that's true through council president, I would like to get the copies of the contract for the police and fire, especially just to understand if these department heads are covered by the contractual agreement or the salaries are set by the mayor. I would like to see those contracts.
So once again, so there are 4 contracts. There's 2 police and 2 fire. There's the rank and file and the superiors in each one of them, and the superior contract does not cover the chief, and obviously the rank and file doesn't in either of those bargaining units. But we can give you copies of all 4 contracts so you can see who's included and who's
Perfect.
excluded.
Again,
By PERC law, by state law, they would not be allowed to be because they are an executive managerial employees. So
Understood.
they're not subject to collective bargaining agreements.
Understood. Okay, I don't need to see the entire police and fire department, just the department head, the heads, the chief, fire chief and police chief, if they are part of.
They don't have a contract. In other words, well, there's, each one of those contracts starts with a recognition clause. This is who is covered. So, the rank and file contract says it's patrol officers. I'm not sure if the sergeants are included, and then it says everybody of the rank of captain, lieutenant, and sergeant. That's that. But the answer is they are not included in either one of those. I can give you the recognition clauses if you want. They're the first or second clause in every one of the contract instead of the whole contract. Either way.
I was gonna give him a little clue on how collective bargaining works,
Well, that way I can.
because I don't think he understands that point of
No,
it.
I don't need to know, I don't
The
need to
answer
know
is
that.
they're not covered by, they are not covered by those contracts.
Correct. Joy, just, Vice President, just for your information, I
No,
was.
'cause I was a union president, so I kind of
You
understand
might be,
collective
Floor is
bargaining.
with
I
me.
was.
Floor is with me. Every union works differently. I was a
know.
part of the union negotiation, so we all know
Council
how
Vice
the,
President, he has the floor, just let him finish, please.
how the contract negotiation work, and I don't need any expert opinion on what they have done in their personal capacity, because I also have the similar background. Just my question was very specific, that if the department heads, especially those executives, if their salary range are set by mayor, that's perfectly fine, as long as they are not part of any contract. That's my question is.
Correct.
Yes.
That is exactly correct.
Correct.
As long as
Sonia?
they're not, if they're covered by a contract, they're covered by the contract.
Perfect.
Sonia,
you.
could we make sure we relay these answers back to Mr. Patil
Sure.
First.
through email? And Madam Clerk, can you let the record reflect his questions so that they're answered?
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, we're good.
Because I can email you the contracts we have.
Okay, moving forward, any other questions?
Council President?
Yes.
Yes, I had some questions with that. And I can shed some light. The police chief and the fire chief do have a contract. I know that because I read it. It says that they shall receive, and I'm going to make this part up, 10% more than the highest ranking officer. Now, the reason why I know this exists is when I originally got on the council, I asked for a copy of every contract with personnel. And when I meant every contract, they gave me every union contract. And then, if any of the council people ever read the audit, in the audit, they said, they made reference to the contract should be looked at to make sure that there was no, my feeling was that it looked like there were only contracts given to males and there were no contracts given to females. So the recommendation in the audit was to verify that through legal and to make sure that, men and women should both get a contract. It was in the audit from maybe a year or two ago under the recommendations. So then I went to the BA and I told her that I know that there's a contract, even though I requested and didn't get it. And then she said, oh, I think that's in the mayor's drawer. And she pulled them out and she gave me a copy for the police chief and the fire chief. And they were very similar. It was a letter, that just said that.
Yeah, it was a letter from the mayor, but not approved by the council.
That agreed to give him
Correct.
10%
Right.
above.
So it's not binding on the next mayor then, if it's not approved by council, right? So
Okay.
they're not actually contracts.
They're not.
No, because they're not approved by council. So
Okay.
they are, because they're in, the council is setting the range and the mayor is setting the salary. And so the answer is that they're not approved by council, but certainly they're not collective bargaining.
I
agreements.
don't know if they were approved by council.
And I don't, and this question of whether it's male or female, I mean, it's just the police chief and the fire chief is probably who you're talking about. I don't know of any other, I
Specific to public safety or
No, it was
all
just.
department heads?
It was just in general for department heads. In other words, department heads were given contracts. Your police chief and fire chief were given a contract, and they were both male. So the question came up through the audit was, should the other people in this group get a contract that are female? And I don't know, that went to Bill Northgrave at the time, I guess they looked at it.
The answer, can you identify the year? Because I'd love to read that.
It was in Hodgelick and Morris's audit that they do for us every year.
Yeah, but
And it
they've
was-
done it for,
I've been here for 2 years.
they've been here for 50.
Yes, no,
So
it's only
so it's
been-
got to be within the last, it's got to be
It's
within
in
the last 2
2 years. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a, Councilman, I'll certainly take a look at it, and find out.
Okay. And then the other question I have is the municipal clerk. Who determines what that pay is? Is that the council
council.
or the mayor?
The council. The council, she is the only employee in which you control that. Correct.
And so this is the only person here that we actually have say over, correct?
Correct. Well, you're going to set the ranges, but the
Yes.
answer is yes.
Now, my other question is, and this is just a silly question, I guess, the mayor, right? There's a salary range of 75 to 130. Well, who determines how much he gets paid? Does he get 75 or does he get 150, I'm sorry. Or does he get 150? Like, if we approve this, is that up to him or is it up to the council? Or, like, I understand he gets to decide the pay for everybody else, and that makes total sense. But it makes no sense whatsoever to have a salary range for a mayor that then he would be the one to set. No? Like,
Correct.
Shouldn't we just set a salary and for the mayor instead of a salary range? I mean, it looks kind of silly.
We're keeping it that low, and someday if you're mayor, we'll drop it back down to 60.
I would just, not take the paycheck? I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that it doesn't make sense to have a range and give it to the person that's going to give himself the raise.
Council President, does that have to do with whether the person is part-time or full-time?
No.
It's
It
just a
cannot-
range no matter what,
It
but,
cannot matter whether you're part-time or full-time because you're an elected official.
so you can be part-time and still get the same price as a person who works full-time?
Yes.
Interesting.
Rich, I understand your question. Sonia, if we can shed some light on that, but before the next council meeting, we'll look at that. Okay, Rich?
And then I have one more. I see that for the Diwali holiday, we're going to invest $135,000 plus $19,000 for a lighted sign that then we're going to use elsewhere, correct? So that's 35, 45, 50, like $155,000. Are we planning on spending an equal amount of money for the other holidays? Like, I don't want to, I can't in good conscience approve like a lighting for one segment of our population unless we're going to recognize Hanukkah, Christmas, right? And we're going to do the same type of event. Now, I do know that we were talking about like a winter holiday thing that might have went from Diwali all the way through Hanukkah and Christmas, but nobody said anything about that. We're just getting asked to approve $135,000 for lights for that one holiday. That's for a specific, group. What about the other groups? Do we give them anything, or are we going to?
So with regard to the two events that we've been planning for, one of which is Diwali, which is listed on here. So we have to go through the bidding process in order, because of the lighting having cost as much as it did. I would say most of this money, if not all of it, is actually donations, and they are not necessarily all coming from a cost to the township. But again, the township has to go through the bidding process because of the amount of money we're expending. One of the things with regard to the light that you're looking at, that design, that is going to be displayed for other events. So we move on now to Winterfest, and we will recognize, of course, the Hanukkah holiday, as well as the lighting of a tree, and so forth. So those holidays will be recognized. So we're progressive, inclusive of all sectors. So just to be clear on that.
Okay, so the light, the Edison light, is going to be used for all the holidays.
Correct, and for any events that we may have.
And the $135,000 has all been donated.
Pretty much, and more, pretty much.
Okay, can I ask a question? Do we have to approve when we receive those donations? Because when we get grant money, I notice that we have to approve it, and I just haven't seen anything come through.
Those are working through, so once we get
Okay.
them, they will come forth, and we'll go through that process.
Perfect, thank you.
Sonia, if you can provide a breakdown of the donations when you have time, I appreciate it. Okay, next, moving forward, any other
Council
questions?
President,
Yes.
I have one more question to ordinance J. Is there any specific reason that we didn't split those by, as a separate ordinances? Because clerk shouldn't be there, clerk should be separate, mayor should be separate, fire, police should be separate. Because typically, once we bundle everything, you are forcing council person to vote on everything.
Lou?
No, they've always, I mean, traditionally, they've all been in the zoning, in the salary ordinance, so I'm not really quite
Not
sure.
really.
I mean, you could take any ordinance and split every part of it into as many sections as you wanted to. But typically, that's the way it's done.
Last 7 years, this is the first time I'm seeing this type of ordinance. Never came. In fact, the salary range, the salary increase for the council came as a separate ordinance. Salary increase for the mayor's office was a separate ordinance. And any other, I have not seen in the last 7 years. So I'm surprised that everything got bundled in one except the council.
Once again, that was the form that the administration sent the ordinance over. We're doing them all at the same time. I don't know that there's anything legal or magical about it. It's just, that's the form it came.
Yeah, because these are separate departments, so why they cannot be separated?
Well, I mean, I don't know that you would do 9 separate ordinances for 9 separate department heads.
Why not?
Because it just is a.
It's the council has to act on it, whether
Well,
it's a 9 or 20.
and I'm not saying that the council, it isn't a council decision. It would seem to me to be repetitive, and typically it's all done at the.
Understood,
time.
but just to save time, because this is important, this is going to cost taxpayers at least a good $1 million, and I would prefer to have that conscious decision on voting certain items and not voting on certain items.
Once again, it's a.
Unless there is a hidden agenda.
Ultimately, it becomes a council decision on how you do it. It's just, typically, they've been grouped together. I've never seen a circumstance where, and I don't know what you saw or didn't see in the last 7 years because I wasn't here, that you voted on an ordinance increasing the salary for the Department of Public Works and then an ordinance increasing the salary for the Department of Recreation. I don't think that's what happened. I think these have been in the salary. I have been given copies of your salary ordinances that include that. Now, that doesn't mean that the mayor and council weren't treated differently, but the department heads were always all in the same ordinance, I think.
No, never. Everything was separate.
One at a time,
Correct.
in a completely separate ordinance. Well, I'll let the clerk.
Let the clerk.
last ordinance in 2019 had all the directors on
Right,
one.
and that's
The
the one,
council was
that's the
separate.
one that
Hold on,
we
hold-
reviewed.
Can we just have some order here? I'm sorry, just let the clerk finish. I'm sorry, Sonia. You had too many people speaking. Okay.
The last salary ordinance we had was just all the department heads, all the directors. Council was separate, I believe, and we never had the police and fire, though, I don't think, in the
Correct.
last one.
And even mayor.
The last one. Separate, yeah, the police and fire were not, I don't think, on the last one, but I'll dig them all out, and I'll send the council members.
So I have not,
Last one in 19 had all the directors.
directors are fine, but what
And
I'm
the
saying is
council, the council salaries were separate.
council was separate, police, fire probably was separate,
Police and fire weren't on the
Yes.
last one, I don't
and
believe.
mayor's was also separate,
But
because,
actually, right
last
here.
year also mayor's salary increase came
Right
in,
here,
it
I'm
was a
looking at
separate
it right
ordinance.
now, the salary ordinance from 2019 did not have the police chief and fire chief. It had all the other directors, VA, CFO, Public Works, Parks, Municipal Clerk, Health, Code, Tax Assessor, Tax Collector, and Water and Sewer. That was done in 19.
Correct, that excludes council,
No,
police.
council, it was on that one too, though. I stand corrected. He has council president and council person was on that one in 19,
That's also not right.
you know? Before that, it wasn't. It was separated.
Correct, they were all separate.
The council was separated. The only thing on the last one was not the chief.
Marlene, can you print a copy for the council? Sonia, I'm sorry.
That's quite
I
all right.
wasn't
I'm
cutting you
just
off
trying to
over here.
understand in terms of the logical sense of having, typically speaking, you put them all together as department heads, and you have the council separate. So I'm trying to understand what was the logical reason why to have them separately.
Yes, I can answer that. Just as our attorney said, these salary ranges are set by administration, in the sense mayor's office, correct? This is coming from mayor's office.
Right.
Now, if his salary is also part of the same ordinance, so the administration deciding their own salaries.
So you're speaking separately to the mayor, or are you speaking separately to the department heads? Now,
No, the regular department heads, probably it's okay. Ideally, they should be separate, but again, to save the time, if you want to club them, that's okay.
but we do have to publicize it too, so.
Absolutely, but that's what I said, and I did not see the DPW, I did not see recreation, I did not see any other those departments. Only selective departments are there. So the question is, what happened to other departments? Are they really in the range? And why, some of those are not separated?
Thank you, Councilman Patil. All right, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect to Councilman Patil's comments. Sonia, what you can get to clarify, fine, and we'll get to Wednesday's meeting.
Council President, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Could she get they said that you guys voted on that in 2019. I wasn't here in 2019. And could you get me the difference from a part-time mayor and a full-time mayor? The difference?
The 3 towns that I'd mentioned, you can see that in there.
Because
with
the full-time mayor makes the difference?
However, I mean, if you're familiar with these towns and the operation, so it'll speak for itself. But just so I know my marching orders from Councilman, what is that you're asking for clarification with regard to the list?
I would like to see all the prior ordinances, they were approved by this
Okay.
council, whether that includes council, even though it is standalone for the mayors, whether it is standalone or part of any other ordinance, all the department heads, whether they were separate or part of one ordinance. You can go back probably past 6 years, 7 years, and
Yeah,
pull those
see
ordinances.
how, back
Absolutely.
5 years or so. Okay.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
No problem. Okay, any other questions from council members? Okay. Moving forward here, we're at the Department of Finance, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Any questions or comments from council members? Hearing none, moving to the Department of Law, A and B. Any questions or comments from council members?
Council President?
Yes?
Just a quick
You have the
com-
floor.
Thank you, Council President. Just a quick comment on 11A in regards to the escrow deposit fees. Not necessarily in regards to the fees, but some of the language adjustments I see specifically having been on the TRC and now being on the planning board, where these adjustments will make things much more efficient within the engineering department and the appropriate boards. So I'm really happy to see that this, along with several of the other ordinances that are up to vote, coming through. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Porter. Any other comments on A and B from the Department of Law? Hearing none from council members, moving to 12 from the Department of Planning and Engineering, A, B, C, and D. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving to 13 from the Department of Public Works, A, B, C, D. Then we're adding to the agenda E and F. And to the agenda for awarding a contract bid for supply and delivery of various flowers for Edison Township, and adding it to the agenda, the contract bid 220211 for the planting of various flowers. Any other
Council
questions or
President?
comments?
Yes. Where are these flowers going?
Sonia?
Sure. They're going to be planted along Amboy Avenue.
Is this for a festival and a flower
This is
festival?
part of our regular planting season.
Okay.
So there'll be few places where we're going to be planting mums, one of which the large portion of Amboy Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilman Bishop.
I just have a question. I see that we have bids, right? And the bids on this one here that we're adding for the 19,000, the bids total either 92,000 or 102, right? So, like, this looks pretty intense. Like, that's a pretty nice planting, 92,000. but we're only approving for 19,000 here. So is that like one tulip in each
Right.
thing, or like?
I
like-
think what happened here was it was broken down.
There are 3,500, Council President, if
Yeah,
I may.
Sonia, go ahead.
There are about 3,500 mums being planted
For the 19,000?
for the 19,000, correct? And then in addition to that, then we have, of course, the actual planting of itself.
Okay. No, I'm just, because I'm looking at the bids told 92,000.
We didn't do the summer planting.
Okay,
So I think what the administration may have done is they cherry-picked the beginning of the season and the end of the season to save some money. I knew don't think I was smiling about it, but I would
are
have been.
any of them gonna go down by Woodbridge Avenue, by the Craig's Deli, or
From-
North Edison by the library, or is this just a Clara Barton flower thing?
From the instructions in the past, it's to go to various places aside from Clara Barton. In fact, if you want it separately for Clara Barton, it would be much cheaper.
Okay, thank you, Council President.
Council President,
That's probably why I didn't get them in the beginning, adding all the extra spots you asked me to ask, plus the 50 flower pots you asked me to add.
Council President.
Fine. Yes, I'm sorry, Councilman Patil, you have the floor.
This combined 19,000 plus 8,500, so 27,500 will be spending on planting flowers, or this 8,500 is separate?
Sonia?
Your question was with regard to the amount of flowers?
Yeah, no, there are two resolutions. One says 19,000 and second says 8,500.
Right, the 19,000 is for the actual plant itself, and then the 8,500 is for the planting of the product.
We can't find the volunteers probably to do that?
I'm sorry?
We can't find the volunteers to plant those mums?
It's quite extensive, a lot of beds, and so it would take a long time. Our staff is trying to get a lot done and with little resources, so that's why we thought this was the most efficient way to get it done professionally as well. I mean, not that our staff isn't up to par, they're actually great, but I just think it just takes too much time, so doing a combined awarding between the planting and the actual plant, it's best that way.
Yeah, but what I remember, and Council President, you can correct me, we spent, believe in 2019, close to $50,000 on flower planting. Last year as well, we spent, close to 25, 30 grand. So how long this will continue? If we are not covering the whole town, I get it, some will be on Amboy Avenue, some will go on Woodbridge Avenue, but we are 30 square mile town, and every year I see this amount, 50,000, 25,000. Are we really covering the whole town, or just we are focusing on one part of the town? Again, no offense, but I think, we should look at holistically the other parts of the town.
I don't disagree with you, Councilman Patil. What's before you is the same thing you voted on
Yes.
the last, I think, 6 seasons, but it was three different ordinances. Part of this planting was for different memorials, parts of Papineau Park, including the 9/11 Memorial, the Palmyra Memorial, and other park areas. So if you have another recommendation how to get to the entire town or other areas of public space that you want to do, I think it's a great idea. In some beginning recommendations to the mayor, John Pointer and I, we brought up a lot of areas to plant throughout the town. And we also included the Silver Lake section over there. And we also included, the list was much bigger than this. In between May and today, nothing was planted in the areas at all. So there was an extreme cutback. And from what I understand, the mayor wants to look at doing more perennials and some permanent landscaping, which I don't disagree with. So the original document that Mr. Bresch was discussing was the amount, the larger amount. However, the tulips were done for the tulip time, and then we skipped the entire summer season to the fall.
Understood. We are late in a game, but it's better to be late than never. So again, I'll fully support these two ordinance resolution. My only the ask is, we have several entry points for the Edison Township. I said that last year. If we can plant some flowers to every single sign that says "Welcome to Edison Township," that would be helpful, rather than focusing on one area or the second area. That's my suggestion. Thank you,
I
Council
don't
President.
disagree. And we recommended 16 locations to do that.
Perfect.
And it wasn't just planting, it was actually including some marquee signs in some areas, but in lieu of time, I'm not sure where the administration is on that, but I am pressing to get more done. So thank you, Councilman Patil.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah. Well, according to the bid, I think it's a 9-inch mum with I think an 11-inch head or something.
Yes,
It's not small.
Okay, good.
Do you want us to bring a sample in for you, Mr. Brescher? Would that help at the next meeting? To see the size? Okay. Any other questions or comments from council members? A through F? Hearing none, moving to 14. From the Department of Sewer and Water, A. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving to 15. From the Chief of Fire, A. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, from the Chief of Police. Letter A, B, C, and D. Any questions or comments?
Council President, yes.
Yes.
On letter A, I find it rather an embarrassment that this victim of this stabbing in the car that in the car that she was being driven in, that this impounding fee was imposed upon her in the first place. That is literally insult to injury. And I know that she's been reimbursed, and that's all well and good, but, how did it happen that she was billed for this in the first place? I'm wondering.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Also, do we know how the victim is doing, and was the perpetrator caught? Anyone know?
The answer is perhaps these are questions that you might want to refer to the police chief offline. We tried to be careful in terms of the way we wrote the resolution, but they're really with regards to a criminal/domestic violence incident, so
Okay.
I don't really think they're appropriately the subject of
Okay.
questions at a public meeting.
So you can have the chief.
Certainly the police chief
Yeah.
can call you and brief you on it.
Okay.
Can you have the chief reach out to Councilwoman Harris tomorrow sometime, please?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And what is your availability?
Not at all.
Okay, first, you're doing 6 and 8 o'clock a.m. Okay, any other questions for council members? 16.
Council President,
Yes.
just to concur with what Councilwoman Harris mentioned, a lot of times we just see resolutions and it's just like a singular line. I really advise people to look at the actual resolutions themselves, because a lot of times it tells a much more deeper story. And yes, maybe certain fees may not have had to have happened at that time. However, what this has, or what this is asking for, is the right thing for the township to do in regards to refunding. The other question that I have is, or actually the question I have, and I just closed it, but in regards to the license plate scanners, can it be confirmed that these are going to be standalone, where, say, there's a street pole and that's where they would be located, or are these going to be installed on the vehicles themselves?
Sonia, can we have the chief get back to him? It's my understanding they're usually on top of the vehicle, the rear vehicle of the patrol car, but I'm not familiar if they've ever been on a pole, but please, Sonia, have someone contact him tomorrow?
I tried to look up the model, and it kind of gave both options, so that's why I was curious.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Council President,
Yes, council member.
when he's talking about the resolution, it came up to me automatically. It stood out to me by me having the advantage of sitting here next to the lawyer. I had him to kind of explain it to me back and forth, but I myself, like other people, don't think we do not do enough for domestic violence awareness. Like, I don't see different things that we do in the town. I'm sure other small groups are doing it, but I think as a whole, we should point that out more because of the pandemic, not just because of it, but other things have escalated domestic violence. So we had to pay closer attention to it. And I'm sure that you can get the information from the police department, but they can't give out names. And it's a certain way they have to protect certain people. So with the way he wrote it, that's why we asked all these questions, because he has to protect, the town also at the same time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Moving forward, any other questions or comments? Chief, please. Yes, none? Okay, moving forward to the Township Clerk. A. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving to the council member of the Planning Board, John Porno.
Thank you,
You've cut
Council
your, I
President.
think we just had a resolution cutting your time to 5 minutes. Was that true or not, Mr. Prescher? Okay, I'm just kidding. No, I love the report. Lenny did it in 9 minutes. You've been 6.
Or just luckily for everyone, the next meeting is next Monday, September 19th, 7 o'clock here at Council Chambers. That is my report. Thank you, sir.
13 seconds. Beautiful. John, I know you do a good job on that. I'm not, in any way, Mr. Porter, you do an excellent job, and many people love to hear it. Moving forward, unfinished business. Ordinances for the considered public hearing for final adoption. Any question or comments for 19? Hearing none. Discussion items. To my left, Councilmember Pointer.
Do we have to go through all of the ordinances? There's 5 of them. I just
No.
want to make sure.
Well, I'm sorry, I just said, we're going to discussion items. We're not doing any, there was no question or comments.
Okay, just
for-
want to
for
make
that.
sure.
I'm just skipping to discussion items.
No, thank you, sir. To the business administrator, can I get an update on the community energy aggregate program?
I can briefly provide that to you at this time. Right now, we had met with the vendor regarding the aggregation program. Right now, we were just trying to look at the ordinance itself. So we're going to reach out to council to see if there's anything else that we need to do. But at this moment in time, we just had some preliminary meetings.
The other question through Council President to the business administrator, I know a couple of months, Ms. Conway had mentioned about the ash trees, and the engineer had said that he was going to look at a plan potentially because some of them are diseased and dying. Is there any update on that?
I can provide that to you also.
Thank you. I also want to just give a thank you to the DPW. A couple months ago, I made mention about an incident on Whitman Avenue where there was an abundance of trash and lack of maintenance for the grass and such there. The resident actually was going to he sent an email this morning saying that he was going to email saying that things haven't been upkept, and he was a little disappointed, only to have DPW there earlier late last week to do the maintenance. So I'm happy to hear that continued maintenance is occurring with our DPW, and just wanted to give thanks to the entire crew there. That's it, Council President. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilmember Pointer. Councilmember Patil?
Thank you, Council President. Through Council President, question to administration. Any update on SDL software rollout?
We've been rolling it out, so we're trying to get all the kinks in terms of the IT portion of it done. We've obviously identified the users, so we're just trying to move along with the actual planning of the program to launch it. So it's going to take some time, but we are working on it.
Can we get the rollout plan, something tentative rollout plan? Like when the residents will be able to see that?
I can give you an estimate.
Tentative, I'm not looking hard date there, but at least something that, people can see. My second question is on the flood area, Stephenville Parkway, Calvert. This has been going on since long time, and I do see that we have the ordinances that coming up on the storm water. Hopefully, there is no impact. But do we know any work that is being done or that will be done this year? This is 5th year we are chasing this.
What street is that?
Stephenville Parkway, Calvert. The engineering study was done, everything, the people have given the consent to, start the work. And we are hoping that we'll break the ground this summer. Nothing happened, but again, we need to know, we need to
Parkwood?
start.
I'm sorry, you said Parkwood?
No, Stephenville Parkway.
Stevens Parkway.
Stephenville Parkway. Calvert Avenue.
Okay.
My next one is the paving and milling schedule. Is that up on the site?
The bid actually went out today for
Wait.
the streets.
Oh, it went out today, so we expect something by early next month?
We should hopefully have it by the second meeting in September. We're hopeful. It's gone out for 10 days, and we'll take a look at it. If everything is great, well, and with the specifications, and we'll move forward, and we'll make a recommendation to move on at the next meeting.
Perfect. Do we have the list of the streets they were?
It's on the bid. It's on our website.
It's on the web. Perfect. Thank you. And my last one is, again, this council president, we need to have the meeting with the DPW and emergency department for the winter preparation.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. We'll call that meeting. I will reach out to you personally and to see the availability of other members of the committee, and we'll pick a date in the next 6 weeks. Fair enough?
Fair enough. Thank you, Council President.
No problem. Councilmember Anish Patel?
I had a question for the BA. There was an email sent out by the Open Space Committee regarding pocket parks on 29 Harding. Do we have any ideas if we're going to work on that or
Was the email sent to
at the administration?
Pocket Parks?
Yeah, pocket park on 29 Harding.
I'll have to follow up.
And another question regarding the bike path on Kilman. Did you have a chance to speak with the engineering regarding what do we have to do to move forward with that project?
Outside of engineering, we actually have to work that out with PSE&G, so that's an ongoing conversation, and we can discuss that with regard to the bike path.
You went on the Kilmer Ave?
We can, yeah.
I'm sorry. You done? Okay. Councilmember Brescher?
Wait, what happened to me?
Well, I'll just go, I'm sorry. I have I think it's a great opportunity to have a rebuttal against Mr. Brescher. That's why I saved it for last.
All right,
I want the women
fair
to
enough.
have power above him. I'm sorry, Ms. Harris, if you'd like to go before him, please.
The week before last, I was in Bloomington, Minnesota, population of 85,000, and had the chance to go to a farmer's market that was held in a plaza of their municipal complex, and was really blown away because this municipal complex has within it a performing arts center, and so everything it's all in one space. The plaza for the farmer's market was large, and there was entertainment there. And it gets back to something that I've spoken about before, which is my dream and my vision to get a performing arts center here. And I loved the model of what they had. And the fact that we have right now no farmers markets in Edison, which makes no sense to me. A former Councilwoman Sapna Shah and I, actually former Councilwoman Shah, asked me if I would want to work with her on establishing some farmers markets, and I would be happy to do so. But this model, given that Bloomington, it's not quite as big, Bloomington, Minnesota, not quite as big as Edison, but it's a pretty good sized city, and so this just gives me more impetus to get the ball rolling on doing whatever is necessary to start looking into the construction or the building of a performing arts center that might be attached to the municipal complex or on the grounds municipal complex here, and perhaps including space for a plaza for a farmer's market. And so, Council President, is that something that you and I can start to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can go into some discussions. Our biggest challenge has been and the ball has been dropped, but I know it's been the mayor's goal to get this done, and so has it in the past. Securing a farmer has been our most difficult challenge. We had a location in the past, which I'm sure we can use again if we chose to, which was the Jade Dynasty. They paid for a sign to be put up there. But lately, the one farmer who's there for, probably about 14 years, Pop's Farm, he didn't give it up because he wasn't making a living. He gave it up because of the timing of him getting a new job and not having enough people to service. So we do have an area that does do well. It's just the approach now would be to get a farmer for May of next year. And that, I think, would be the first start, is also not just putting it on you and I, but the administration should take a responsibility through the health department or having a certain person who makes those calls to recruit. Because it is a large undertaking, that first part.
I guess I'm wondering, Metuchen has several farmers at their farmers market in the plaza. Highland Park, I believe, has farmers markets there. So what are we missing?
Metuchen has Nelson. Nelson runs that market, if you've ever met him before, and he started that from probably 4 to 8 people and built it to what it is today. And in fact, I think the Metuchen Chamber had an interest in holding on to it. And he had an interest in taking it, and it was given to him because he was doing such a good job to just manage it. So he managed it without the chamber's support. He does it himself, and there's some fee structure, but there's someone who does the actual work. And it is a very big undertaking. But I'm open to sit down with you and have some discussions if former Councilwoman Shaw has an interest. She may regret how much time it takes. But I'm going to take advantage of her time off the council, since maybe she's unavailable. And she's mentioned to me as well, so I'm open to that. But I do first want to ask the administration, Sonia, if there's anybody that we're planning to give a combination of jobs. One of them to a task is to recruit a farmer for May of next year.
Sure. Having run farmers market in the past when I was an assistant BA, it is a huge undertaking. And one of the, I guess, the hurdles that you'll eventually get over is actually getting a farmer, because they're so specific on the days that they do everyone else.
Yeah.
That if you just throw them off, then they just flat out tell you they can't do it. So you do have to have a good farmer who's going to dedicate their date and time to you, and then have a location. If you've already identified, that's half the battle, because if you ever decide to move location, they will come to your door and tear you down, because they don't like change. So there's got to be a very good plan in order to get that done. And then, of course, a general plan of are you looking at farmers? Are you looking at small businesses? What is it, the policy that you're trying to implement? So you've got to have a really good layout of how you want your farmers market to look like, and how open do you want it to be. So I can bring that up to the administration and what they want to foresee in the spring of next year.
That would be great. I'm ready to roll my sleeves up on that and the idea of a performing arts center. And so whoever I can get to join me in that, I would be happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brescher.
Am I recognized?
Yes, you're recognized. You have the floor. You have 5 minutes left if you yield. Yes.
Clean Communities grant money. Are we applying for that? We've gotten it every year, but we didn't apply this year yet. I think we get rid of the grant writer or something. So if you give me an update as to if we are or if we're not. The flooding that was brought up by Councilman Batil, he brought up one area. This is probably about the third time this year. And then I went after him, and I remind, the administration that I think it's 5 areas. You know, it's over by Featherbed, it's over by Nevsky, it's on Grove, there was the one by Lincoln, and then this one there that was actually in the whole planning stage and everything. So do you think, there was a gentleman, he was sitting next to you, he was an engineer of some kind. That's the last time I brought it up when I asked him. Could we get a report on what the administration is doing with these 5 different areas of flooding in the town? And the next update, I don't know if this is for the BA or attorney, but down on Silver Lake, we had a gate where a resident took the property. We're kind of negotiating, I guess, because it's part of this other Glendale thing, I think.
No, we sued him. There's a lawsuit pending.
Oh, so we're
There's a
in
lawsuit
litigation
last
for
year.
that?
Yes, there, sir.
Okay, and that hasn't went to court or anything yet?
No. No, we're in the middle of discovery, but the town sued, Mr. Northgrave filed an order to show cause, and the case is proceeding, correct?
Okay, then that same individual was building a retaining wall.
Correct,
Like when I
stop
say,
work order issued already.
right, like the concrete blocks are like 2 foot by 4 foot. It was like the kind you use on a turnpike.
Well, as you know, it's kind of an isolated spot. Somebody noticed it from the river, actually, and
Yes.
we immediately, as soon as we found out about it, we got a picture, and that same day, we issued a stop work order.
Now, did anybody go to the DEP or EPA about that? Because it looked like it was only, 75 feet from the river.
Yes, yeah, it's probably would require a CAFRA approval, I think, or coastal approval. Yeah, it does.
Right,
And
there's
yes,
something
the
like-
answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the answer is we have.
So
Correct.
we reported them.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
And by the way, confirmed it wasn't on our property, too. It was not. That was the first question, is whether or not he was building a brick wall on the property that was in dispute. That was my first question.
Council Vice President?
Yes, I'll talk about some of the exciting things first that we endured. I was at because I always scream for women all the time. And when I went to the ceremony, and we had the first 2 women to be a part of the fire department, and from that, people see it as, now I can. So now there are women putting applications in to be volunteer fire people. And then one of the ceremonies that just went to last week, we had our first South Asian woman cop. We had other Asians, but this is our first South Asian woman cop. So within our ceremonies, within our town, we are moving, I see, in the right direction, because it's inclusion, so that young people see things that they can be a part of. And I also noticed when the father gave his speech, I didn't say the name because I say names incorrectly sometimes, but when he gave his speech and he talked about it, he said within the school of St. Helena's and stuff, he liked the female firefighters to come out during Fire Prevention Week, so the young women can see that this is a place they can become, because a lot of people take the word gender incorrectly. Sometimes when people talk about gender, they talk about gender roles. Like when my mother was growing up, women were relegated to secretaries, a teacher or a nurse. But now, women are in a whole lot of different places. Then I went to the Board of Ed meeting, and I didn't even know it. And I found out that one of our Board of Ed members, Dr. Haydu, he happened to have a doctorate in educational policy. And I said, we're not even paying for that. And we have a person sitting on our board that has a degree in educational policy, which is very, very important. Also, the Jets had an opening game yesterday on 9/11 through the rain and stuff. I went by there and I seen the Jets, because after being a cheerleading coach, I know that it can snow, it can be a blizzard, but the football games still go on. Then we had in Victoria Park, they had their social gathering that they have once a year for all the people. And also, as Liz in the audience could attest to, we went to the Metuchen prayer service on Friday night was praying for all the children, all the teachers. They prayed for police officers and even government, so that this year would be a successful year for everyone. Also, they had I want to thank the people for being able to move inside the ceremony for the DPW. And also, Jazz Night, went to Metuchen also, and I know Councilwoman Harris knows, because we live that close to Metuchen. But they had a jazz night there, and they had this jazz that goes on from the second weekend in September all the time. I normally go to it. I know Metuchen has been in the loop now for like 2 years, but I've always been begging, just like I beg for women in other places, I've been begging for us to do a jazz program. Now, what has happened now, as they've taken Flemington and Somerville out of the mix, so now we'll be more centralized with New Brunswick and Metuchen, and hopefully, I'm in the talks now, hopefully in Edison we'll be part of that whole triangle of jazz for all of us. And what I noticed that night also was they showed off their high school jazz bands. Now, I know for sure that Edison has like the best jazz bands around for their high school students. What a great way to show them off, like the other towns do, when we actually have a jazz program within the county. All right, so I'm asking for that particular thing, and let's see, because I do move around a lot at all, so, yeah, I do. So I know, and with the grant money, I'm always asking for grant money, and that's about it, all the places I've been to. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other council members I may have forgot? Anything else? We're good?
Council President, just I want to ask one more thing to the administration.
Sure.
The Summer Street resident came here, they spoke multiple times. I think engineering department also did a site visit. They were expecting some resolution on their flood situation. Again, this is on top of what we have in the list, but Summer Street was the high priority because all those 8, 9, 10 houses flood as soon as the rain starts. Thank you, Council President.
Council President, I want to add one last thing from the master plan. In discussion, we noticed that everybody asked for their streets to be paved, but nobody's asking for sidewalks for our kids to walk safely to school or walk safely places. So I think when people call out for the streets being paved, I think some of us should be asking for sidewalks also, because that would be a great thing for us to be able to walk through the neighborhoods, because the traffic volume is ridiculous now. Not just in this town, because when I seen traffic on Sunday, it was just too much. So I would like people to start asking in their plans about sidewalks also. Think about the kids, think about the older people, because they need to walk on sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Sonia, while I'm here with you, the DPW meeting, if it's a possibility that we can have the meeting before the Wednesday, September 28th meeting, is it possible just to reach out to Ray and his staff, if they're available, and if our council members are available, perhaps 4:30, we would meet? I mean, we'd prefer 5:30, but I know that there are some overtime issues, but 5:30 is our first request, but I think we'll settle for 4:30 if that's, and it can be this meeting or the following meeting.
Who's the point of order? You're scheduling a meeting, right? Just send an email and they can schedule that for you. You don't need to do that in the council meeting.
I'm
Schedule a
sorry,
meeting.
is this still my meeting?
What's that?
Is it still my meeting?
Well, it's a council meeting.
Okay, I'm just
I didn't
checking. I'm
know.
aware of that, but why,
You know.
Sonia's right here, why should I type? And she sees them every day. Also, I just had a question, the Diwali lights, I know we have an expenditure of 135 for that. What about the Winter Wonderland? Is that going to be a separate? It's also, It's all together, okay, with it.
It's mixed together.
Okay.
They're broken down separately.
Okay, and are we renting or are we owning this?
We're renting.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. All right, I had nothing else. Thank you very much. Any other council members? We're good?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Nay.
This meeting is adjourned.